probably filming on my SD card.
I am.
I knew you were too. That's my dog. I knew. I already knew it was coming. But we here. Ain't we here? Camera 1, camera 2. What's up with everybody? It's your boy Deshaun Forrest.
It's your girl Moriana Jack, aka Mo.
Yeah, aka Mo. And this is Unrehearsed. If this sound like I don't really know what I'm doing, hence the title of the podcast, Unrehearsed. We don't really know what's finna happen, but we know we had that we had that inspiration. We want to do it, and sometimes you just gotta act quick. And yeah, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I'm excited for Unrehearsed because we're about to talk about transparency too. So
yeah.
Today's the day. We've been waiting.
Yeah, we've been waiting.
The people have been waiting.
So they tell me, bro, Transparent 2. For those that don't know, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to just everything I have going on, Transparent 2 is a brand new album I just released on July 29th. So just this past July 29th. And Transparent 1 was released, has it been 2 years yet? It's going on 2 years. It'll probably be 2 years by the time this episode dropped, no lie. But that came out like September, October, or something like that of 2020. I can't remember none of these days. But yeah, so we finna get into it today.
So obviously you have a lot of music videos that you've been doing. So I purposely didn't want to touch on those ones because I feel like those are going to be the ones that most people get to just hear you speak about. So I wanted to really touch on the ones that aren't going to have music videos.
Okay.
Which I don't know all of it, but as far as I know, like for example, trust issues. Let's talk about that. So first of all, the title, because that's the very first song on the album.
It is.
So like, why is that the first one? Why was that the first message that you wanted to give to the people?
Hey, yo, that's a fire question.
Yeah.
I gotta think about it. So, man, there's a couple ways I can answer that.
All right.
So like, I always like to open up projects a certain way.
Okay.
Especially if I'm telling a story, which I've been doing on the past 2 projects. I like to either start you off with something that hooks you in, or just something that's just like a nice little dope intro type of joint. And so the trust issues, when I made it, I remember I made the beat, and the beat's super simplistic, so I made it real fast. I just knew like, okay, this is my opener. Because it's something simplistic. I know I'm going to rap over it. It's going to be like, it's not going to be like super deep and necessarily in like concept. And so when I wrote, I was just kind of writing like, I'm just kind of writing. I didn't even know it was going to end up being trust issues until the very end. And even then on the song, I never actually say the phrase trust issues.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, you don't. So I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so creatively it just made sense because it was like one of the challenging, the tricky parts about Transparent 2 was actually just sequencing the tracks, because it's like I'm telling a story musically and I'm also going to be telling a story visually.
Yeah.
So certain songs I have to use to set up the next arc of the story and set up the emotions and all of those kind of things. And then trust issues was just a good way to establish the fact that I'm not okay, if that makes sense. Like something is going on. You don't really know how deep it is, but that's the perfect way to, trust issues. If you got trust issues, you have a reason to have trust issues. No one just wakes up
not trusting.
Yeah, you gotta have a reason to. So that's pretty much why I kind of started off first.
I love that. Can I bring up some of the lyrics?
Yeah.
Okay, because your lyrics be like, oh, I just be having to stop and meditate. I'm like, Selah. Like, come on, somebody. So there's one where you said, I'm telling you all, I used to put myself to sleep and say, God, don't you wake me no more. Like, can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Because that was so deep. Like, I just couldn't get past that because I was like, he really just said that.
Yeah.
So.
And it really hits because the line before it says, even with logic and doctrine that sounds. So even with a good head on my shoulders, I used to bring myself to sleep and say, God, don't you wake me no more. So yeah, I was, by this point, just in case someone watching that don't know, but if you have been following, I was suicidal. I was in a depression. And so when I wrote that line is, I come from a happy home. I don't come from a dysfunctional home. I don't have a bad childhood. I did my best to hang out with the right people, you know what I'm saying? And so I've done things that were ideal, you know what I'm saying? Just try to do everything right. And, you know, as far as the whole Christian lifestyle goes, I never really fought against it because it always felt right to me. And then, of course, I started having my own experiences with God, and then I was like, okay, this absolutely is right. And so when I wrote that, it was kind of like, man, even with all of that context, I still was like, yeah, I ain't trying to be here, like, God, take me out. And I wrote it like that because as Christians, for y'all that don't know, I'm a Christian, so is Mo.
Hi.
Yeah. We know what happens when suicide happens. It's pretty much like you seal your fate. And so that's why I say even with logic and doctrine, so even with a good head and sound doctrine from the faith side of things, that sound, I still somehow found my way, like, yeah, I'm chilling, I'm done, even though I kind of already knew what the consequences would be. And so, yeah, answer.
Thank you. We like long answers. Come on. And then I gotta touch on this other one because I was like, oh, like we're all out here calling people out when you're like false teachers was speaking over my life and calling it God. Please talk about that because that was just fire.
That's the reason why this joint didn't get a video.
I was like, dang.
Like, I mean, how do I want to say it? Well, you said false teachers speak my... Yeah, so... Dang.
Maybe you could just simply talk about just false teachers in general. Like, what did that look like for you when you say that?
Well,
like, what was your experience in that?
We know in the us Christians out there, we know in the Bible, in Deuteronomy, I believe it's 18, right when God is really like establishing the law and everything and all that kind of stuff. It talks about like prophets and like how you know if a prophet's actually sent from God, and then God lays out like, okay, this is how you know if a prophet's really speaking for me. If they say something gonna happen and it happened, then you know it came from me. If they say something is not going, if they say something is gonna happen but it don't happen, then you know that it was false. And so I was kind of, and thing is, you may not always know it in the moment.
Okay.
You know, some stuff is just obvious, like, oh yeah, I can just, you know, sometimes you just gotta wait and see. And so, but oftentimes what'll be said is good things that you genuinely would want to happen.
Right.
And so you waiting to see, but at the same time, you kind of buying into it.
Okay.
And so, but when it don't happen, then, you know, trust issues.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you're hurt from that.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of things, I won't necessarily go into them, but there were a lot of things that were said that were good things that anybody would want, you know, but they ultimately didn't come from God, you know. Like, for example, someone says something. This was one of the moments where it's like, oh, I obviously know this isn't right. Okay. But someone says something, you know, thus said the Lord God told me to tell you type joint. And I was just like, okay, you know, just bringing it to God, right, type thing. Literally the next morning, I'm just flipping through my Bible, and I land on Deuteronomy 18, where it talks about how, you know, and that's what that was like God's way of saying, like, yeah, that wasn't it. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why that's significant is because during that time, I was typically reading stuff out of the New Testament. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't diving into much old, let alone Deuteronomy, you know? Let alone Deuteronomy.
Right, come on.
And so, that's where that line came from.
Dang, come on, that's good. I just want to stay on this for 2 more seconds.
Yeah.
So then with that, would you say that at some point with those words that were from false teachers but that were good things, did you feel like you started to conform to that, or in a sense almost try to make it happen yourself at some point where you're kind of like, oh, let me like help God out a little bit? Or would you say you were just like, nah, God, like it's all you, like I'm gonna sit back?
You definitely, because it was like the things that I was getting was actual like desires of my heart. You know what I mean? That's why I say it's like real good things. And so and the natural sense, in order to make those kind of things happen, there is a certain work that you would have to put in.
Right, yeah.
And so, yeah, you know, I was buying into it. I was buying into it because there was nothing but good intentions, and there were really good things. You know, it's not stuff like money or a big house, you know, prosperity gospel type joint, but it's like real things that anyone would want in their life.
Yeah.
But you know, perhaps it just wasn't the right time. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah.
Oh, that's like so good.
Which made the fall hurt a lot more.
Come on, man. All right, next one, walk away. Walk away.
Slightly under.
So let's see. Letting me grow through the pain, though I felt apprehensive.
Oh, I thought you was gonna finish it.
I was not. Would you like to finish it?
Because I'm no longer the same and not quite sure how I'm different. I thought you was gonna finish. That part got me.
Because I'm no longer the same and not quite sure how I'm different.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to talk about the growing through the pain part.
Yeah.
Because I think that in general, us as people, we always have this perception of pain equals bad. You know, and just every time we go through stuff, it's like, why me? Like, what's going on? And it's very hard for us to accept that pain is actually a beautiful part of life, even though it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But you also said how it grows our character and things like that. So can you just touch on that?
Or no pain, no gain, like they say in the gym. You know, if you're not actually physically in pain, then your muscles aren't building. But letting me grow through the pain, it was like you know, when we deal with those kind of hard things, it's natural to want that instant relief. Oftentimes that pain is necessary because it'll teach you something, you'll grow through it and all of those kind of things. And so for my situation, I obviously wanted that instant relief and got upset that I wasn't getting it, which kind of could segue into we might be here longer, you know?
Yeah.
But it was like, because it was very intense. Like an intense, sharp pain, and I felt it, and so God alleviated some of that sharpness of it, but still left the remains. Like, okay, you're gonna actually have to kind of deal with that.
Wow.
You know, this is for you to deal with it, grow through it, and it was tough because it's like I said in Walk Away, you know, I felt I was changing. I even heard a voice said that at the end of this, you're not gonna be the same. And so I felt myself changing, and then also like some other bad things that I perceived as bad was going on. So I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm changing, but it don't seem like I'm changing for the better.
Yeah.
And so I kind of panicked when I was writing that line, because I was like, I'm changing, and I'm not the same, but now I'm not quite sure exactly how I'm different. It just doesn't really seem like the old me anymore. But yeah.
And then you did make a music video to that.
I did.
So can we talk about what was the inspiration? Because you had a lot of different stories in that music video, which like really drew me in. I was just like, wow, there's a lot of different stories happening in this video.
A lot of stuff happening. Yeah, so we shot that video. Yeah, we for surely shot that one after we shot A Moment's Time. And if you haven't seen A Moment's Time, you won't get everything that's happening in Walk Away. And so, but what me and Brandon, shout out Brandon behind the camera, what me and Brandon wanted to do was tell that Walk Away story, but from 3 different perspectives.
Okay.
Like me personally, I always, because it's a breakup that happened in A Moment's Time, I always wonder what happened if we broke up later. You know, and hence the single father with the kids.
Wow.
You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
My phone. I didn't connect that at all. That's so good. Okay.
Yeah, and then because that one was always in my mind. It's like, man, if we probably would have stayed together then broke up, there probably would have been some young children involved.
Wow.
And it would have hurt a lot worse. And then we also added the friendship betrayal aspect as well to also just fill in that gap. But that was pretty much our main angle. And then you see with me in the video, you kind of just see me kind of throwing out old stuff, but also looking through old pictures. But the focus really is kind of taken off me a little bit.
Okay.
And put more so on, like, at least how I perceive it, how I look at the video. I think the single family gets a little bit more of the shine, which is kind of how I want it to be, because my character development for that particular arc happened in A Moment's Time, you know, so it just felt like okay, now let's just tell the story in 3 different ways, because there's a lot of different walk away type of stories out there.
Wow.
You know, and so that's why we kind of took the focus off of myself and then put it on others, while still naturally working myself back at the end to let the person know, like, okay, he's the main character in this overarching story, and so, but just for this one, it kind of take the focus a little bit off. And shout out to my uncle. That's my uncle and my cousins. He bodied that. He bodied that. He's never acted before, and everyone's like, "Oh, let me get a video. And I'm like,
I would have never guessed, like, because it was just so natural. I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
I was impressed.
And like he just killed it. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, dude really just killed it. Like, when he kicked that stool and when he kicked that stool, Brandon wasn't even ready for that. He kicked that stool and the camera shook because Brandon wasn't even ready for that moment. And so he really killed that.
That's awesome.
He nailed the father role. So
shout out to him. Yeah. So now, since we're on your videos, it just made me think of the question, why do you keep ending it with cliffhangers? Why you keep doing that to us? Like, the people want to know. Like, even in Just Walk Away, if I'm not mistaken, the end was it you
threw the ring.
You threw the ring. And I'm just like, whoa, like, hold on, you know? And so it's just like, what makes you end it the way that you do?
Well, in the world of film, too much resolve is not a good thing.
Okay.
I am just about as much inspired by filmmaking and storytelling as I am by music.
Okay.
And so it's like another passion of mine. Okay. And so I know resolving too much, you don't want to over-explain. You know what I mean? You don't want to over-resolve.
The story of my life.
Right.
Like, I do that all the time.
Right. And, in film, it's always better to show than tell. You can tell some stuff, but it hits better when you show. Like, if my character said, I'm letting this go, then be like, okay, cool, he's letting it go. Okay. But he threw that ring. Yeah. So which means, bruh's letting it go. He threw the ring and deleted the picture. Yeah. So that for Walk Away, that's why. And it's just, you gotta end with a bang, honestly.
Like, the one that really got me, though, was Close the Door, because I was like, was that a pregnancy test? Indeed. And then I'm just like, is this literal? Is this figurative? And I just was like, I need to talk to this man. What's going on?
Yeah, for Close the Door, that's for surely a pregnancy test.
That was crazy.
That's for surely a pregnancy test.
I was just like, wow.
And I think a couple folk was like, you trying to tell me something? And I was like, nah, relax. That part was just, I just needed to end the video somehow.
Come on.
But for Close the Door, that one is like, not only was it just, I thought it was a really good way to end it, but it's like, my character, or at least the couple, which is the same Beyonce couple from A Moment's Time, it's just a different girl playing my girlfriend. We were literally playing with fire the entire video, and we established in the prelude that we shot for it, the fact that we were supposed to do things differently. That's why we shot the prelude, to establish that dynamic. But for the music video, we were just playing with fire, and just caught up in that little loop and trapped by our emotion. And so I wanted to end it like that, to show that if you play with fire, you'll get burned. Man. You know what I mean? She didn't even take the test. It's just there. You know what I mean?
Ooh, I did not get that.
It's just there. She's like holding on to it, because you can see, because I'm knocking on the door and I leave, and then she says, I'll be right there, and she just walks out. So she's not in the middle of taking the test. She just has it like in her hand, and it's just there. So there's probably some concerns. Yeah. But it's just like, you play with fire, you're gonna get burned, and that's why I wanted to end it like that, to show that there's consequences for literally everything. It don't matter like what stage of life you're in, there's consequences and stuff. But yeah. Ain't nobody pregnant. I ain't got no kids. Okay.
Thank you for clarifying. We're all a little concerned. We're like, okay.
Yeah. I ain't got no children.
I love that.
My grandmama was like, is that gonna be my new granddaughter-in-law? I said, no. We just ain't nobody pregnant. Ain't no kids, grandma. We ain't got to worry about that.
Yeah, my grandma like, don't be lying to me, baby, now. Come on, tell me.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Once More. Yeah. That was a very joyful, very uplifting song. And so I just have a specific lyric. Yeah. So it says, no hope for life, but I put myself out of the pit of my mind and I addressed all my heresies.
Yeah. No hope for life, and I pull no hope for life, but I put myself out of the pit of my mind and addressed on my errands. Yeah.
So, what were these heresies? I was just very curious. I'm just like, what was that? It's
errancies.
Errancies.
So, mistakes.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
like errors, errancies. Pull myself out of the pit of my mind and addressed all my errancies. I've been trying to get those lyrics up on Instagram, and it's just not working. But
the frustration.
Yeah, because it's like I got all my other songs up there, but A Moment's Time and Once More, it's like not happening. So I gotta figure that out. But addressed all my errancies. It's easy if we get caught up in some or whatever happens, whatever bad situation we get caught up in. It's easy to point the finger, you know, and in my situation, I got caught up in stuff, you know what I'm saying? I had good intentions and everything, but got caught up.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just happens. And so, but there's always a role that you play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a two-way street kind of thing. There's always a role that you play in your own downfall, if you will.
Yeah.
And so, addressed on my errancies, it's like, I'm big on like not running away from the harsh conversations, the harsh truths, and getting through the traumas and all of those deep things. And so I wanted to, after having let go, I wanted to see, what did I do to add to this? What did I do to like put myself in this pit that I had to climb out of? And I had to pretty much swallow the harsh pills. It's like, okay, yeah, you know, maybe I was too into my emotions and not listening to logic. Maybe I wasn't listening to God as much as I should, or whatever the situation may have been. You know, you just play a role, and you know, you may not necessarily be. It may not necessarily be all your fault, but there's always a role that you play in it. There's always a role, and so I just wanted to see what did I do to contribute to this.
Dang.
And then once I started doing that, it's like, you know, like I said, it builds character. You start really learning about your patterns and your habits, and you start learning about the things that kind of make you tick, make you go. And so you start learning your ways, and you start learning, okay, what to look out for. You start understanding feelings a little bit more, situations a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? What exact situation makes you feel some kind of way, type of thing. And then you also learn a lot of good things about yourself, you know what I mean? Like if I, you know, say I was a ride or die before the wrong thing. Okay, the wrong thing is a wrong thing, but the good trait is I'm a ride or die.
I love that.
So what if I'm a ride or die before the right thing?
Right.
If that right thing take off and it's successful, whatever it is, then it's like, boom, look at your commitment.
Yeah.
Being able to like dissect and analyze and discern those things. And all that comes, for me, it was through a lot of like prayer and fasting, but not being afraid of like looking in the mirror and like really seeing what's there. Sometimes we want to look in the mirror and just see the good stuff, but it's like you got to look in the mirror and see everything that's there, the good and the bad. And so that's what I was kind of dealing with. It's like, let me acknowledge the good.
Right.
That's easy. That's going to take the less time, acknowledging the good, because it's good and you move on to the next thing. But when you acknowledge the bad, you acknowledging the bad that's there, and then you also got to figure out why it's there, how it got there, or how to get there, what contributed to it, how long has it been there, has it always been there, did it start from a situation, and then it just goes into other things. But yeah.
Wow, okay. Man, that just made me think of Revenge on the Soul.
Yeah.
Man, because there was a lot going on. There was you, and there was like the evil.
Yeah,
you,
Red Eye.
And I was just like, whoa, like what is happening? And then you're just talking about just this internal battle that you're having with yourself.
Yeah, like we talked about this on the phone, but one thing I just really want to do, I never want to like run away from like the human experience of this walk in life.
I love that.
Yeah, and you know, in our space, our Christian space, we know about spiritual warfare.
Right.
You know, it's polar opposite sides. You got the good, extreme evil. But here we are in the middle, which is like a interesting combination of both. You know what I mean? And so what I naturally just wanted to do was like, okay, we understand what the good is, we understand what the bad is, but what does the effect of that spiritual conflict have on the person? And which is why in Revenge on the Soul, you got the red-eyed me, which I think is just like a dope character. I want to turn into like
smile.
Yeah, I want to turn him into like some kind of super
Come on. Oh, you should.
powered individual in some anime or I don't know.
I could see that.
Yeah.
That'd be dope. Like a quick little mini cartoon or something.
Right. And so so, which is why you see that version of me, and then you also hear the voice of reason, which is like God, and then when it comes on, it's like a light starts to shine. But then you also see me, gray jacket, a blend of the black and the white. You know what I'm saying? The pure white, the evil dark type stuff, and then you see the impact it has on me. You see me kind of going crazy, and especially as the music really picks up, I'm really just kind of losing it, and all of those kind of things. And talk about cliffhangers, we ended because it's Revenge on the Soul and I was considering suicide, my efforts of getting revenge on just like the situation really would have just been my own undoing, which is how why it ends the way it does. But I really wanted to show that, and it's the same with Close the Door too, because it's like, if you hear the lyrics, it's like, I say that I want to correct the course. If you didn't see the prelude where I'm saying like we want to do things differently, I'm saying in a song I want to correct the course, but it's like I'm caught in this trap. The nights take over by force. You know what I mean?
Sun is down.
Sun falls. I guess that means it's time now. I wind up right when it's time to wind down. And so I wanted to show the effects that it has on the person, because he knows what to do, but he's getting caught up in doing stuff that he knows he shouldn't. So how does this affect the person? So yeah.
Dang, come on.
Yeah.
That's like
I love
so
storytelling.
good. So then how would you decipher when it's you being driven by your emotions and like you being driven by what's right? Because I feel like that's something that keeps like coming up a lot. It's like, okay, like I know the right thing to do, but then it's just like, even in Close the Door, you were talking about that. You're like, my emotions have me bound.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ooh, like.
Right. And it's always at work because, I can pinpoint moments in Close the Door where it's like his emotions is talking. And then in the next bar, okay, now this is his logic. Okay. You know what I mean? But you said, like, how do I slow forgot your
No,
question.
it's okay.
Like
I feel that I'm more asking, like, should there be a balance? Like, when it comes to logic and when it comes to emotion, or should you just completely disregard your emotions? Because you said emotions have me bound, is it just like, okay, just shut up your emotions and just don't feel what you're feeling and just do the right thing? Or how would you?
Well, there definitely should be a balance in just life in general, because we have the ability to think with logic, but we are emotional creatures, you feel? And sometimes it's really good to listen to your emotions, especially when they've been building up. And then also times there's moments where it's like, ignore your emotions, you know what's right, so go off your logic. But I think even though Transparent 2 is musically and visually an emotional thing, his logic is at play, because even though he wanted to kill himself in Revenge on the Soul, he doesn't. So he listened to something somewhere, he used his head. And like all throughout Close the Door, it's like, it's like that logic, it's fighting against what his emotions is saying. And then of course by the time you get to the end of the project, you see that he's better off. Yeah. So, somewhere, he listened to the right voice and started doing the right things to build him up. But it was just, I think emotions really get bad if you just like allow yourself to get led by it too much. Okay. You know what I mean? And that's really what was happening. Like Revenge on the Soul, it was like he's driven by anger. We know anger is like a super powerful thing. Yeah. And then Close the Door is like lust. And then We Might Be Here Longer, it's just like that feeling of like depression and all those kind of things. Even when depressed, he's like, I'm fighting to get out. I'm gonna try to get out this thing. Yeah. But it's just like, maybe it's just not time yet, so we might be here longer type of thing. So it's really interesting that you bring that up, because I haven't actually didn't really think about it like that. But definitely both of those things are at like work. And it's just an emotional project, so it just seems very emotion heavy. It is. But logic is definitely at work there, because he keeps himself ultimately.
Okay. Yeah. Dang, that's like so good. Yeah. That's so good. So then my next question is, what will it take? what will it take for you to love again? Like, what will it take? Let the people know. Do the people want to know? Do the people want to know?
Hey.
Like, that was such an amazing song, but it's a really great question.
I don't know when this podcast episode will drop, but we're shooting this. What's today? September 7th?
It's the 6th.
It's the 6th. That video is dropping at the end of the month. Okay. And I've been wanting to drop that forever. I've had to push it back in favor of other videos, but I can't wait for that. But, I mean, I guess it just ultimately takes the right situation. Okay. I've always let those things just flow naturally. I've never been one to like force a situation or force anything. Okay. But so in a nutshell, it's really just letting the right thing just naturally come along, like how I've always done. Okay. And not necessarily like change up the approach. But that song is, man.
Right. I was like, we're about to quote some lyrics real quick. Yeah. Well, actually, one thing that really stood out to me was when you said, "Feels like my generation quits on love too fast, and I don't want to do that."
Yeah.
Like, what made you say that? I was just like, wow, like he's talking about a whole generation quitting on love. Like, what does that mean? What's your perception?
There's a lot of ways we can dissect that, because like when we know the Bible says, referring to the last days, like the love of many will wax cold.
Yeah.
And so there's that angle we could take. Okay. And then we can also dive into how the divorce rates is like, I think like majority of marriage is like divorce. It's like, I know it's been at least half for the longest, but it's probably more than that now.
Yeah.
But without getting too deep into that, I just feel like a lot of, and this is what, I'm guilty as much as the next person. I'm just as guilty as the next person. But I don't know if it's just today's world or maybe just American society, but
I was like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, mirth. But it's romanticized, and it's a great thing to have. I mean, everyone wants to be in love, but I feel like the part of love that is romanticized is the romance of it, and not the work that goes to keep it going. Because you listen to the song, I bring up marriages in my own family that are successful. Like my grandparents, we all see in the video, the grandparents I play, me and Allison play, they were together up until my grandfather had passed, so they were together over 40 years. Wow. Grandparents on my mom's side been together over 50 years. My parents have been together over 30.
Oh, wow.
And so I've had plenty, and there's other examples of marriages that are still going, 15, 20 plus, you're still going strong, 30, 40 years. And I feel like our generation, because cheating has been desensitized and pretty much made into a joke.
Right.
Literally, like people make jokes about cheating and memes about it and stuff like that. And I feel like we don't get that far because we don't really know what it takes, or we don't.
I understand. It's like
know what I
we
mean?
just get so caught up on like, oh, we're going out to eat every day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're going here, we're going there.
Yeah.
But it's just like we're not having those deep conversations and like really getting deep. Like, oh my gosh, let's just open a whole can of worms, because it can be so surface level.
Exactly.
It's so surface level. Even after like knowing each other for a year, it's like, you still don't even know my middle name though. Like, what's happening right now? Like, you still don't know, like, what's the, one of the worst things that I've ever done in my life. Like, you still don't know what my childhood was like and, like, why I am the way that I am now.
Yeah.
So, man.
Yeah, and it's like, and me having been engaged pretty young, I was engaged at 20 before it broke off. Like, I was getting a taste of that work, what it takes to make it successful. But seeing all of the different successful marriages, I'm not one to run for those things. I already knew what I was trying to sign up for. But I just feel like people our age, it's just we don't think like that. We just want the romance, we want the sex before marriage, which God is against that. But not the commitment.
Right.
It's a commitment factor.
Yeah.
And then like the whole cheating thing, which is really foul.
Yeah.
It's the foulest thing you can do in a relationship. We've been desensitized to like cheating. We don't even really understand how foul it is. It's literally the worst thing you could ever do in a relationship, along with lying. And it's like, when I say it's been made into a joke, it's like people, it's like, I have encountered people, this is true story, I've met people who expect to get cheated on.
Oh wow, that's upsetting.
And I'm like, yo, what the heck? This is some of the wildest thing I've ever seen. Because me personally, I didn't come up that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so to me, it's like, bro, where are y'all getting this stuff from? Mm-hmm. Who are y'all running into?
Yeah. Y'all in the wrong crowd. You're gonna get it together.
Like, because there's people that I know that's like, you know, it's just their ability to go into that. Mm-hmm. It's just like light work for them.
Just to be clear, we're not talking about toxicity, or are we getting there?
I'm talking about just cheating.
Okay.
That's what I was
just
talking about.
To clarify.
Yeah, and I just think is the effect that it has on our generation is that, like, if you know, how can you actually believe in a successful relationship, a long-term relationship, if we don't really know what that looks like? If we're coming from broken homes and baby daddies, baby mamas, and divorce situations, and we don't know how to look. We all want love, but we don't know how to look for it the right way.
Yeah.
And so that's why that's a whole separate podcast.
That is. I was like,
that's a whole separate episode. But like, that's pretty much where that line came from. It's because, like, just the stories that I've heard and just the things that I've seen from other people, it's like, bro, what are we gonna look like in 20, 30 years? You know what I mean? Because people we're gonna keep being fruitful and multiplying, and so the next set of kids is gonna keep coming up in this stuff, and it's just gonna be worse. And it's like, I would wonder, it's like, who really believes in marriage and long-term 30, 40 till death do us part type stuff?
Yeah.
Which is always said in vows, in sickness and in health, because it seems like everything's cool when everything's cool, but when the first sign of conflict comes, it's like, okay, I'm ready to skedaddle. I got my bag semi-packed already, been waiting for this. And then I just, like I said, that's a separate podcast episode, but that's pretty much where that line came from. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. That was like so good. That was good.
Yeah.
You like really got into that.
Yeah, because
okay.
like me, having a wife and children has always been a desire of my heart. Plus, I've seen so many great examples of it. But like, I know many people that didn't necessarily come up like how I've come up.
Yeah.
And so they don't really, you know, so in a sense it could look like, okay, maybe he's a little bit ahead of his years type joint. But it's like,
They got an old soul.
they might say, oh, it's got an old soul. It's like, well, maybe, but really it's just like, I've seen it done the right way. So, and if you know the right way, you're not gonna try to, what else is out there? Like, you're not gonna try to like do it any other way. Like, if especially if you see that it's possible and it lasts, and then, you know, I mean, it's just, I've seen, I mean, my family has gone through some rough times, but my parents stuck together.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get to 30, 40 years if you're ready to pack your bags and leave at every sign of conflict. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like everyone is ready to quit, ready to bounce, but you can't build nothing good if you're just ready to hop out all the time.
I just think it's just easy.
It's
easy. It's hard to like stick around. It's hard to stick around. It's hard to stay with someone. Yeah. It just is. And I'll honestly think another thing that falls into is just the dating part, that I feel that people don't date for very long. People usually they feel that they've known each other for a year and they're like, okay, like it's good, like it's perfect, like I know you. But it's just like, you can't ever really know somebody like within a year, you know? And so it's just like, I definitely feel that a lot of people don't want to invest. And I do feel that a lot of people feel that it's very hard. And so a lot of times people will say, oh, you have to choose your heart. But it's just like, I think people just come to realize, you know what, like I'd rather still be able to, in a sense, like I'd rather still be able to have sex and like not have a whole relationship. Like I know they're not emotionally available, but I'm okay with that because I'm out here just trying to get my fix, and like, yeah, I'm gonna go home and like cry my eyes to sleep tonight, but like, you know, like I'm okay. But I really think that people waver when they consider long-term commitment, you know, just sticking around, it's just easier where it's like I could just pretty much let that person fill that void or vacancy that I have, and then I could just like bounce and do my own thing and not have to stick around. Yeah. I think commitment scares a lot of people.
I think it does.
Yeah.
But it's like even if they were to do it, like, okay, I'm gonna get my fix and like go on, it's still like sex itself ain't gonna fill that void.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a whole other concept.
I know. Say it again.
That's a whole other podcast episode. We have to do a podcast episode on just that type of stuff alone. But it's like sex itself ain't gonna fill the void because the feeling comes and it goes. But what people are really after is the stuff that sticks around.
Yeah.
You know, that stuff that has substance. But you got to put in the work for that stuff. You know, if you just get it easily, you know, it won't mean as much. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I just hand you $1 million versus you grind it for $1 million,
right?
You'd be like, yo, I grinded years for that $1 million. I'm not going to waste that $1 million.
Yeah.
I'm going to invest some of that in different ways, and versus I'll just give it to you, like, oh, you might fool around and blow it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but yeah, man, that's pretty much just where it came from. I just felt like I haven't seen enough of us want to do it, you know, and the way of marriage and the right way. And especially these days, people are like, oh man, that's old. What's the whole point of marriage? But everyone is trying to cop every like benefit of marriage without the full-on commitment and stuff, you know. And it's just, boy, like I said, we gotta say that's another.
No, for real.
But yeah,
Dang.
yeah, and so it's just, oh man, irks my nerves. But that's
Irks your nerves.
Yeah.
All right. So what else you got for us? What else is going on? What's coming out? Any announcements?
Well, just continuing to add to the story of the album. Me and Brandon are actually about to go and shoot another video. This will be the last video for the project, and just same old thing. Just trying to take it up, and just trying to grind and just keep it going.
Okay.
I have found what it is that I want to do in life, and making it a success is like my biggest priority, honestly. Graduated school. School's done.
Let's go.
Appreciate it.
How many degrees again?
2.
Let's go. PhD next? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm chilling.
I'm just playing.
But yeah, it's just, that's really just what it is. I'm just trying to, honestly, like you know, we be on the phone. I'm just trying to make all of this a success and just get to the point where I can see God's promises actually be fulfilled and all of those kind of things. And that's really much where I'm on. I'm always working on something. I'm doing a breakdown. That's another thing. Breakdown series. Breaking down the whole album. I know we broke down part of it today, but I'm actually going to be, I'm actually in the process of breaking down each individual song. At the time of us shooting it, I just dropped the one for Close the Door. I know I've already felt We Might Be Here Longer and Revenge on the Soul. So I got to edit those ones and get those ones up. But yeah, new merch drop.
Come on, there we go. New merch drop.
Whole new merch site.
Come on.
Did away with the old site in favor of a new one that I linked to my official website. Link will be in the description, and it's also link in my bio to it and Instagram as well. So yeah, just.
Do you have any tour dates? Like, what's going on? Are we thinking about a tour? Are we thinking about maybe you know, what is it called? You know, when they have like a chill night where people just come, you know, and there's like a bar and stuff, and then like, you know, you just do your thing and perform, and people just enjoy the experience. Of you and your music.
Always on the lookout for just new performing opportunities. Unfortunately, at the point of us shooting this, we're in the midst of a heat wave. So one of the things that I had lined up just got canceled because it was going to be an outside event, and it's going to be like at least 110 or 106, something like that. But yeah, just whatever performing opportunities I can, always try to cash in on.
Okay.
You know, because sometimes they're few far between. I actually toured a little bit early in the summer.
Okay.
Did a bit of a summer tour, and we did LA, Oakland, and Fresno. LA for the BET weekend. which was great because who in the world would have thought?
Man, come on.
I'd have been out there amongst people just like, man, like I felt like the East Bay area Antioch kid in there because I was like, how in the world did I get here? Oh, these folks just feel different to be
Come
around.
on, I love that.
But yeah, always working, always trying to perform, always. You can also book me through my official website. Gotta plug it, forevertransparent.com. You can also book me through that site. Just fill out the form, and we'll be in touch.
Come on, I love that. That's awesome. Well, thank you for your time.
Oh yeah, thank you for your time.
This is beautiful.
Absolutely, this is Unrehearsed. Are we doing this again?
We should
really
okay,
do this
I was like,
again.
what if he gets a new person? I'm
Oh
like,
no,
he can't.
because like when I always wanted to do a podcast.
Oh, okay.
Me and Brandon have talked about it throughout like the past year and a half, and it was always about just things making sense and the timing of that,
Okay.
and also, of course, finding the right like person to do it with.
Right.
And so when you was talking about, oh, you should have someone interview you, and I was like, you should do it. Let's see if this can happen. You should do it. And then when you was like, oh yeah, we're gonna call it Unrehearsed and da da da, I was like, yo, like when I say I really like bought into it, it was like, oh yeah, I can see a vision
Right?
for
I was
this.
like, this is good.
I see
okay.
a vision for this. So I was like, yeah, Unrehearsed.
Unrehearsed.
For surely.
Come on.
I like that.
Okay.
We'll do this again.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's a wrap. That's Unrehearsed.
That's Unrehearsed.
Is that camera still filming? Okay, yeah. Here's the name, Unrehearsed. We don't know what we're doing.
Right.
But that's Unrehearsed. Like, subscribe, follow me on all social platforms at Deshaun Forrest. Go on my official website, forevertransparent.com. Links to all of that will be in the description. Links to the album as well. Links to book me. Everything is going to be in the description. Follow Mo on Instagram.
Add voice to this generation. Yes, and make sure that you share, people. Please make sure that you're sharing the content. Make sure that when you buy merch that you're tagging him and that you're sharing it. Because if you can't support like financially, like just a share goes a long way. All right, fam? So we appreciate y'all.
And if you really rock with this, then I can like link with the design team and see if we can come up with some merch. Some Unrehearsed merch. Throw it up on the merch, throw it up on the merch site. But yeah, that's a wrap. Bang. Yeah. That was fun.